recording is being made on behalf of the Fargo Air Museum and in conjunction with the North Dakota Historical Society. Today is December 1st, 2006. I am Tom Asklund along with Bob Miller, and today we're visiting with a World War II veteran who will be sharing his life and experiences in the military. He was stationed at Honolulu, Hawaii on that famous day of infamy, December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor Day. Will you give us your name, please?
Robert S. Newton.
And your age?
84.
And will you give us your date of birth, please?
7/20/22.
And where were you born?
Mahnomen, Minnesota.
Who are your parents? William?
Mr. and Mrs. William Newton. I think I put Julia Newton on, Mr. and Mrs. Julia Newton.
Did you have any brothers or sisters?
I had 8 brothers and 5 sisters. And all the brothers are dead now. And one sister is gone.
When did you enter the military?
Well, I got into Pearl Harbor 2 days after Christmas, 1940.
So you went in December of 1940?
Right.
See? Where did you enter the military?
Great Lakes Training Station, Chicago, Illinois.
Okay. And you were in the Navy, is that correct?
That's correct. I was in the U.S. Navy.
And you took your basic training?
At Great Lakes Training Station.
And then did you have some additional training after that?
After that, we went to Pearl Harbor. When we arrived there, they give us all some tests. And I qualified for submarine duty, and so that's what I really wanted to start with. And so we took our training. They called it hands-on training. Like when we were in the engine room, we helped the older submarine sailors overhaul the engines. And we did that for about 3 months. And then I went to torpedo school and torpedo tube school, which lasted 3 months.
Where did you do that?
At Pearl Harbor, we called it hands-on training. We didn't go to Groton, Connecticut, where the school was, and that would have come about a year later. But the war put an end to the schooling, and our schooling consisted of 5 officers on the submarines were picked to train us, and that lasted for about 8 months, 8 or 9 months, and then we went right to sea on a submarine after we overhauled it, and we overhauled it every time we come in. We had 4 1,600 horsepower engines on the submarine, and all 4 engines would get overhauled every trip. We called them war patrols. And that's about the extent of my...
How long were these patrol trips that you refer to?
The our longest patrol was our very first patrol, 72 days. And we had supplies for about 45, 50 days. So we ate a lot of mutton and pulled into Melbourne, Australia, and loaded up on mutton and jackrabbits. And
So you docked various areas in the Pacific?
whenever we needed oil, or we had to go in and get oil and supplies.
How many personnel on your submarine? Officers and enlisted?
Our first war patrol was 72 days, and we had 45 enlisted men and 5 officers. And all the rest of the patrols we made, we had about between 75 and 80 enlisted men and about 7 officers. And I think I told you that we had 5 officers that trained us, and every day we'd have to go with them. We'd spend so much time on the different submarines that were being overhauled. And that's about it for the training.
When you was submerged, how long were you down?
Well, there were several times when we were down just right about to the maximum that we could stand. 18 hours was, your eyes felt like they're going to pop right out of your head, and you had such a headache you didn't care if you got sunk or not. That's about the way most of them said they felt. And that was 18 hours, submerged 18 hours. We could not make any oxygen of our own while we were at sea. So we had to, whenever we picked up supplies, if we needed oxygen, we would be supplied with oxygen.
So you were rather limited as to how many days you could stay out to sea without a replenishment, is that true?
Well, afterwards, the second and beyond that, we could stay out for about 75 days. We'd pack every little nook and cranny with food, supplies, and so we could stay out a lot longer after we made that first trip. We knew what we had to take with us, and like I always said when we were being depth charged, I always said there's no place to hide, so I might as well stand in front of these torpedoes in the forward torpedo room and look macho or act macho. And when I'm looking back on it, it was a lot of fun. On December the 7th, when we had our little 50 caliber machine guns up on top side, reminded me of being home shooting ducks. And the planes would come in about 100 foot from us and about 30 foot in the air. And we were shooting at them we had 50 caliber machine guns that we could put on the posts around we had a fence around the submarine deck, so if you couldn't fall in, or you could catch yourself before you fell in. And what happened was there was 2 of us submarines tied up right alongside of each other, and we were just got out of having our submarine repaired, so we pulled up alongside of the dock. This dock wasn't the regular submarine-based dock. It was a dry dock, where they put the thing in there and then filled it up with water and repaired the ship. And
What were you doing that morning?
that morning,
Yep.
there was 3 of us up on top side of the forward torpedo room, the deck. We were getting ready to go to church, but we were waiting for 3 guys from the other submarine to walk up to the base with us. We had about a quarter of a mile to walk up to the base. And all of a sudden we could hear some muffling and we looked over in this direction where the noise was coming from, and the Japs were dropping bombs, and I hollered at another guy and I said, "Them stupid son of a so-and-so, they're gonna kill somebody." I said, even if it's loaded with sugar or flour, if they get hit on the head, it could be enough to
So
kill
you
them.
thought they were maybe American airplanes?
Yeah. The Marines had pulled that on us 2 weeks before that. They had wanted to see if they could surprise us. Well, they surprised us, all right. And so anyway, by the time these other three guys got up there, well, we were already on our way down to pick up our 50 caliber machine guns. And each one of us had a post that we put our machine guns on, and the planes were coming in, I'd say about, at the most 100 feet away at about 30-foot height.
When did you first realize it was Japanese? Could you see the markings on the airplanes?
Yeah, we could see the markings on the airplanes. And by that time there was, every place you looked, you could see bombs dropping.
Let's remember Pearl Harbor as we go to meet the foe. Let's remember Pearl Harbor as we hit the Alamo. We will always remember how they died for liberty. Let's remember.
We stayed on our machine guns till about 10 o'clock. And then they announced over the loudspeakers that they thought the bombing was about done. And so then we went over to we were told to go over to the submarine base and help haul up the wounded to the hospital. So that's what we did the rest of the day. Hauled people to the hospital.
After the bombing in December 7th, how long were you in Pearl Harbor before you left?
I think it was about approximately 3 months. We were still under repairs, and then we'd take, after we figured we had it, we'd take a run out into the Pacific, and run full blast for about 3 days, and then we'd come back in, load up, and take off.
During this bombing, were you hit in any way, the submarine? Was it damaged?
We had a guy on a ship. He was the executive officer. He was built about like you, only down below he was about this big. And I said, boy, if the Japs ever take after us, they're going to hit him right in the rear end. Sure enough, when they got through with the bombing, well, then they run around strafing the different ships. And only one plane come towards the submarines that we were on. And he got hit in the rear end. And he was the only casualty on the submarine. He wasn't hit really that bad, but it took a big chunk out of him. And like I say, the ships that were doing the bombing, dropping their torpedoes, if I had known, I would have recognized them, because they were, like I say, they weren't 100 yards from us, and about 30 foot high. And they had 2 men, most of them were 2 men torpedo bombers, and people with machine guns strafing the barracks and any place there was a bunch of people, they were strafing. But that's the only one that got hit on some